The real foundation of everything we're about is gold and silver, but precious metals as is insurance against inevitability.
Hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for the StockPulse Network, and we are in the New Orleans Investment Conference, and really excited to be here with Brien Lundin, the man who put on this great show. It's my first time here, although a lot of the guests I've met before, and people really speak highly of it, and I know you've been running this for a while, so just to kick it off, if you could let folks know about the great event you've put together here.
Well, it is the oldest retail-oriented investment conference. Really, it's the oldest investment conference in the world. It was started in 1974. This is our 44th annual event, and there are people walking around here who've been to 40 or more of these events. So it's once you get here, once you experience the intellectual energy and the atmosphere here, people keep coming back year after year. It's kind of a different event. We have really big-name speakers. It's a paid attendance event, but people get such a return on their investment by coming here. They get ideas, they get thoughts, they get cutting-edge strategies, they get specific recommendations from really the top experts in the world in just about every investment sector, but with a particular focus on gold, precious metals, mining stocks, and I guess free market philosophy and economics.
Yeah, which is always a treat for me, especially being on Wall Street and then seeing this whole other side of it. And perhaps, how did you get involved in doing this in the beginning? And one thing I did want to mention, like you said, I've talked to a lot of people that aren't here for just the first time, but have come back, and it is a great energy. And so then back to how did you get involved with this all the way back then?
Well, I answered an ad for a junior copywriter job in 1985 for Jim Blanchard, and Jim Blanchard created all this, an incredible individual. He was one of the leading lights in the fight to return gold ownership to American citizens. People don't realize you couldn't own gold until 1974. Right. So he started Gold Newsletter, which I still publish, in 1971 to advocate for the legalization of gold ownership. Was successful. And then he had a conference in 1974 to teach Americans how to invest in gold. That became this. I joined Jim in 1985 and eventually ended up running his operation for him. He passed away in 1999, and everything we do here is really to try and burnish that legacy that he left and keep true to the ideals that he established for this event.
Right. Well, you've done a great job. A lot of the Austrian economics and precious metals teachers I've had breaking out of my Wall Street spell are here. And one of the things that I always find fascinating, again, I'm about a decade into precious metals, although I always wonder what it's like if you've been seeing all this stuff for a couple decades back in the 70s and 80s, and any thoughts on how that's progressed, and you want to dip into gold and take it from there as well?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, until gold was legalized in 1974, there wasn't anything as freely trading gold and mining stocks that could either take advantage of higher prices or suffer under lower prices. So really, you can go back in almost any asset class centuries and track price data. Right. But for gold and these mining stocks that are related to precious metals, you can only go back to really the early 1970s. Right. So the history is relatively short for an asset that is thousands of years, and it's a bedrock of the world's monetary system, the only real money for 4,000 or 5,000 years of human history. So we've seen some cycles in this market, and it is like every commodity-based market, cyclical, but it is highly emotional because it is a monetary metal. And that's the key. When things are on the downswing, it's a really tough place to be for your speculative investments. When it's on the upswing, it's tremendous. You know, you can be really dumb and still make a lot of money.
Right.
But if you're really smart, you can make enough money to really change your life. So where are we in the cycle is the question everybody asks, and it looks like we're coming off a long-term bottom bear market that ended in late 2015, and we've had a kind of a fit and start year in 2017, actually 2018, but it looks like we're coming out of that now, and there are a lot of reasons to think gold's going to be on the upswing over the next year. That's why you see people here very energized and looking at a lot of mining stocks that are still selling at what appear to be bargain basement levels.
Yeah, I'm curious, again, having been every year, obviously, I feel some of the conferences I've been to this year, there is a different energy where, yeah, people are still a little frustrated with the lower price, although I feel there's a sense of optimism, and you look at the buzz going around here, and people are excited. Have you felt a change in this year as well?
Yeah, this year, and frankly, it started, as I say, in our late 2015 conference. This is a really smart group of people here. They, as I say, they come year after year. They're contrarians, and they know how to play the cycles in these markets. They know when prices are low, it's the time to buy. In late 2015, they sensed that long bear market was ending. People who bought stocks then and invested rode that 2016 right up, and they had stocks that went up, 3, 4, 5 times over in 2016. So, like I say, it's been stop and go, real choppy action since then. But we're confident, or we're anticipating a better 2018, and it seems like right now, as we're in this event, that prices are starting to recover.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, obviously, when people are making money, things are going up. Is nice, although a lot of the great guests you had here, like Rick Rule and Doug Casey, that we've had a chance to talk to, they all mention how the most money they've made is when prices are low, when things are on sale. Again, in today's culture where there's momentum chasing, which kind of leads to a buy high, sell low strategy.
Right.
These are really the conditions where, if you're coming to conferences like this and learning from the guests and all the information that's here, where you really can get ahead.
You're building the foundation for fortunes, really, if you're smart enough to buy at the bottom. And that's why this sophisticated audience and these speakers are excited right now, because we're still at very low levels, historically low levels, compared to where we will be and where we will go in a bull market trend. And there are a lot of factors that are pointing toward higher gold prices. Longer term, it's debt. The debt is uncontrollable. It demands some degree of currency depreciation. Right. That's been the recipe throughout human history. This has happened over and over again. When governments build up unmanageable debts, then that debt is deflated away by devaluing the currencies. Difference today is every currency out there is doing the same thing. They're in the same boat, and they all have to depreciate. So what's left to depreciate against if you can't depreciate against your trading partner currencies? Gold, silver, other tangible assets. So that's why you see that level of excitement right now that this is an opportunity. We're turning a corner. There are a lot of companies that are selling at really attractive levels.
Yeah, and it's, on one hand, I understand where when gold perhaps goes higher, maybe there are other things happening in the world that aren't ideal yet. I wonder if, based on, we have a dollar that's been 99% of it printed away, whatever we go to after this, I'm sure there'll be an adjustment yet. I think there's a lot of hope, which sound money, honest money, which is great for people who are honest and want to go out and just do their thing. And how do you see that playing out in the long run?
Well, that's the very foundation of everything we're about here. We go in the exhibit hall. There's speculative investments that are based on precious metals and other commodities, other minerals. But the real foundation of everything we're about is gold and silver, but precious metals as insurance against an inevitability.
Right.
You buy fire insurance for your home, but you don't expect your home to catch on fire. Well, you buy gold because as insurance against the inevitable devaluation of the currency, of the dollar in this case in the United States, but fiat currency in general. So that's going to happen over the long term. So you're buying insurance for something is going to happen, and you really only have to pay the premium once. Yeah. And you get to keep the premium. So it really is. It's insurance that there's no reason why anybody with significant assets at stake shouldn't buy that insurance.
Right, and especially while this past 7 years have been a little bit of a test of patience, it is interesting to note for the folks that are maybe a little new to gold or not as favorable. you go back and measure it from 2000, has outperformed the stock market, even with these recent runs. So perhaps last question, I know you've been doing this for a while, you have a lot of incredible people here. Anyone in particular that you always make a point as your favorite speaker, or someone that really just always have to catch of, it really
I have to tell you, it's like
could be more than one.
Picking your favorite child. We have an incredible lineup this year. You know, we have Robert Kiyosaki, and so many people love him. He's changed so many lives. On the geopolitical end, we have Mark Stein and Jonah Goldberg are fantastic. We had James Grant just appeared last evening, and he's the most eloquent and one of the smartest commentators out there. You know, Rick Rule, Doug Casey, all of the experts in precious metals and mining stocks that we have here. There's a smorgasbord, and the thing that's very gratifying to me is you see the audience so intensely listening and engaged with our speakers and taking notes, and then putting that knowledge to work and sharing it with each other. That's one of the big benefits of this event, is everybody here is so smart, forward-looking, actively engaged and involved in the markets and willing to share their ideas, and they have some great ideas. They're all very successful investors. Yeah,
and it's nice, like you mentioned, great investors, but especially I've been a big Rick Rule fan for a decade or so now, and what a great speaker and some wonderful one-liners.
I've known Rick Rule so long, I know when he used to be nervous in front of crowds.
Oh yeah?
No longer.
I wish we had YouTube of that, but it's, especially for me, having a financial background and then getting more into interviewing and talking about the markets, has been a great template. A lot of the speakers, like you said here, have been great, and since I know you got a lot going on, we'll let you run, but just wrapping up, perhaps you could let folks know where they can find out more information so that if you're watching at home next year, you can make sure you're here.
Absolutely. NewOrleansConference.com. You can always find us there. Very easy. And goldnewsletter.com.
Yep.
And we actually have a free report that tells everything about investing in precious metals for no obligation.
Yeah, it's a great newsletter. I've been enjoying that for a while. I'm excited to be at my first of many New Orleans investment conferences. And Brien, thanks so much for making some time.
Great. Glad to have you here.
Great to meet you.
Super. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.